Hey everyone, so in the world of real estate investing, you've got your days where you've got your wins, and you've got your days where you just end up taking it. So unfortunately, this is one of those situations where we got some unfortunate news about a sewer backup in our newly renovated basement. Yeah, so Melissa went to go show the unit. We had some showings booked. Melissa's our operations coordinator, and she often does showings for our vacancies to get them filled for us. So she went down there. She was a little bit early, and keep in mind now, we just had this massive snowfall here in Hamilton, the surrounding area, where, I don't know, I think it was like 24 inches of snow, which is pretty impressive. But trugging through everything, she finally got downstairs a little bit early for the appointment, and she realized that when she stepped on the laminate flooring, that the water was kind of coming up between the floorboard cracks. So, and it had this like squishy, like when she stepped on it. So anyway, she called me, and we kind of diagnosed where we thought that the problem was, where she could tell. And it looked like the floor drain at the time was right up to the rim with water, and that was like, it's like sewage water, right? There's an upstairs tenant who's currently living there. They're using it as well. So obviously something's clogged in the pipe, or something's not draining properly. So anyway, step one, call a plumber. So our plumbers got out there, and they do this thing called a CCTV scan. So first of all, they clear it out so that they can get some footage of what they're going to be seeing. The CCTV scan is, it's like this big coil with a camera at the end of it. It also has a solenoid. It's a pretty impressive machine, and they use it to scope out the lines to see what's going on. Now, eventually they scoped out the line, and they noticed that the clay pipe had collapsed. So if you think of a clock, between the hours of 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, the pipe had actually collapsed and fallen down into the bottom portion of the pipe. So we have a clay pipe broken issue. So from a broken clay sanitary pipes circumstance, the question comes down to, is it the responsibility of the homeowner to fix it, or is it the responsibility of the city? And the deciding factor is whose side of the property is the break on. And that's always the real nail biter, because if it's on our side, then we are responsible to fix the clay pipe. But if it's on the city side, then they are responsible to fix the clay pipe. And they are typically pretty prompt at getting out and doing it, because of course the person living in that basement unit, which we don't have yet, but theoretically that unit is completely unusable. So it's their obligation to get that rectified as soon as possible. So a couple of interesting things that the city requires us to, whenever there's a broken pipe situation, they require a submission. Usually you drop it off in person, but with COVID, it's been very challenging to do anything in person. So they've switched up their ways of doing things now. So what you'd have to do, and still do to this day, is you have to provide a video of the CCTV scan, which our plumbers provided, no problem, and you can clearly indicate where it is. Now, luckily for us, this break was on the city side, and so we could clearly identify that on a site plan drawing. So they actually have a little sheet that the plumbers would fill out. They draw the house, they measure away from the house, from the sidewalk, so they give rough dimensions as to where the location of the break is going to be. Now, the CCTV scanner is actually quite an impressive piece of machinery. The end of it has this little solenoid on it. So depending on how far the solenoid is fed out, that's what determines exactly where the break is in location. So that's how we can pinpoint exactly where the break is, which is really, really cool. Now, I say we got lucky here because of the break being on the city side, but at the end of the day, we're still subject to now having to clean sewage backed up basement, which in all respects isn't terrible. I've seen some pretty bad sewage backups. We're going to go to property right now and check it out just to make sure it hasn't gotten any worse since yesterday. But in all respects, we still likely have to replace a lot of the flooring, so it's not like it's not a cakewalk now that we've determined that it's on the city side. we just have luckily saved a large cost of us having to do the digging and the replacing of that line, especially in the winter right now. So anyways, back to the requirements that the city needs. So first of all, they need the video of the CCTV scan of the camera showing exactly where it is. They need the aerial view of like the hand sketch of where the house is and location to where the break is. Now they also need a paid invoice from the homeowner showing that we did in fact hire a licensed plumber to go and investigate this issue. The last thing they need, the fourth thing, is they need the location of the break to be marked on the ground. So either with industrial paint on the concrete, or they use a flag system if it's on the grass or something like that. Now we've gotten 24 inches of snow, so it was a little bit ridiculous going back and forth with the city official where they had indicated that under no circumstances are they going to come out unless there's some sort of a indication that of where the marks are. So here's a picture of what our plumbers put together. I think it's the most hilarious picture ever. It just shows how ridiculous that whole concept is. But to put it in perspective, we had to draw the mark of where the break is on top of a snowbank. So I don't even know if it's still there, to be quite honest with you, but we'll check it out now. Okay, we're here on site. I'm gonna show you guys the lines that we had to draw here. See how much snow there is exactly, so I'm gonna swap the camera around. Okay, so you can tell just how much snow we've gotten. It's better actually on this side here. It's not nothing anyway. So here's the line, it's a little bit faint. Here's exactly where the break took place. So I think that this is absolutely hilarious personally. Hilarious considering the situation and all, which is not hilarious, but at least we have it marked now, right? So let's go check out inside and I'll show you guys what the damage looks like. Okay, so inside here, we've had the dehumidifiers running all night. We've had a little heater going here. So we'll also check out if it's done anything. So here's the floor drain. You can tell the water is still quite high, which is good that it's not coming up anymore. You can also tell here's the bathtub here, that at one point there was some sewage that was coming up in the bathtub too. So effectively the worst area has been here. Yeah, you can still kind of see it. Now it's disappointing because of course we've legitimately just finished up renovating the space. It's a beautiful new unit. By the looks of it, the place is better than it was yesterday, which is hard to imagine. But truly, to get this thing cleaned up, we're going to have to take up this flooring and get everything dried out, and likely just replace the floor in its entirety. So this is just one of those, as I said earlier, unfortunate circumstances. So in a couple aspects, I'm grateful and we're lucky that the damage isn't worse than it could be. This entire place could be flooded for all we know, right? Right now, I think what's happening is that the tenant who's upstairs, who's using the bathroom, who's showering, whatever it might be, that's the only water that could be coming up, and there is going to be a trickle of water that's heading out, even though that the pipe's collapsed. It's not completely crumpled in on itself, but it's enough to catch toilet paper or anything else that might be flushed down the drain, right? So the problem is now that repairing flooring like this, repairing trim, like if you guys look at the trim here, the water's come all the way into the bedroom. You can see it's warped the trim here completely. So there's not a whole lot that we can do about this. So you could suggest, well, maybe just call insurance company. But then once you pay your deductible and you do everything, is it worth it, right? So when it comes to the world of real estate investing, we want to be cognizant that these things can happen, and it's not about how we foresee these issues taking place. It's about how we deal with them when they do take place, right? So obviously step one for this kind of situation, call a good plumber who you trust, who knows the system, who knows the city and what they require, and then you can start the process from there. But effectively, you got to focus on the plan, not the problem. But until next time.